Welcome to Cymatic TV. This is going to be your energy update on all the eruptions that have been happening on the sun over the past sort of 3 days, because it just hasn't stopped at the moment. Me and my big mouth, I said it was going to be a calm facing Earth from the sun, and no, the Earth has decided that it's going to be different, and the sun has really kicked off a lot of things in our directions. When we're going through this analysis, and you'll be able to see this at the end, I'm a healer and a tarot reader, and I do various other things of dowsing, which is energy lines and so forth. And I've been doing that now for 30 years and seeing auras around people and things for the last 30 years. And the best way to explain it is also by looking at things that are much, much bigger. And this is why I do a little bit of the energy updates. So at the end of this video, you're going to get a sort of breakdown of how you can sort of interpret this sort of vibration that's coming through and what sort of meanings it can have upon your aura, your chakra, your emotions, and your general energy as well. So we'll be going through that at the end, but as we go through this information, try and think of it as we're talking about chakras and auras and that sort of thing and energy as we go through the information from the sun today and from the earth as well. So without further ado, let's get straight on into it.
Don't believe, just know. Cymatic TV, turning vibration into reality.
So, as I said, here is the X-ray flux that we can see here. And we can see mainly three spikes where we had a X flare, a 3.3 that I did a report on earlier on in this week. If you haven't seen that, you'll be able to find that on this channel. There's also one that's a slight X flare. It looks right on the borderline between an M flare and an X flare. And then after that, there's a very strong M flare. And that's in the last sort of 3 days. But also around that, as you can well see, there's been a lot of M flares, lower M flares as well. And this is the general uptick on the sun at the moment. So these sort of eruptions happened here, as we can well see here on one of the satellites from NASA. And we can see a lot of eruptions coming off in front of the Earth and behind the Earth. And there's a lot of those sort of plasma coming off the sun as well, with these sort of eruptions that we can start seeing sometimes as it does a sort of wave across the surface of the sun. And these different eruptions are coming in our direction, some of them, not all of them, but some of them. And it's contributing to a triple wave. There is one other thing that we should sort of like take note of, and you can see this eruption that was happening in the middle of the sun there, that's just happened this morning. You can see just below that eruption, that main eruption that we can see, just below it there, we can see now where it's pulled the clouds away, a dark hole on the bottom part of the sun. Now that's a coronal hole. Now these are how eruptions on the sun make coronal holes, which is a different type of vibration. So you can think about it as your chakra having an interaction with the emotions or with the world that is around you, which sets off a solar flare and then creates that sort of hole or that sort of space, as it were, to understand the vibration and to see the effects that we can have on everything that is around us. These solar flares can happen in two different ways. It can, as you can see, that little cloud coming off there, that's the plasma that comes shooting off, that you can see right at the beginning of that sequence. It just comes off just about here, I think, with that eruption. And that is those charged particles. So that can happen in two ways. It can happen either through a solar flare, or which is through a sunspot, an eruption of a sunspot, or it can happen through filaments. Now they're different types of vibrations. Filament energies are much more emotional driven vibrations, much more sort of water. Sunspot flares are much more sort of air and fire, much more sort of heart and mind, as it were. And then you have that corona hole that I was talking about, which is much more earthy sort of energy. Creates a lot in the way of earthquakes and so forth. So where is it actually coming off? How do we know that it's actually hitting us? And then I said the other day, you can see on this here, this is the C2 satellite. And as we get that sort of snowflakey thing that goes on the around the disk after the eruptions, you can see that there's a lot of particles heading our way, because this is between the Earth and the Sun, this satellite. And this is seen from much further out. And this one here is the same satellite, but a lot closer and closer in. Now there is a time delay on one of the eruptions, which comes off around about now. Hang on a second, this just comes off right there. It is at the bottom, and there seems to be a time delay of around about 15 minutes, which could show us a bit of more activity that's going on the sun. Now, are they all coming our way? Well, there is a triple whammy going on. If we're taking on the Enlil spiral here, you can see from the very beginning, there is 3 sort of eruptions. One of them is going slightly below the Earth, so it may get pulled into it. But the other 2 seem to be much more hitting directly onto the Earth. And these 3 eruptions all come together as one and making one super impact, maybe over a certain dates from the 16th, what looks like from the 16th to the 17th, as what it's predicting here on this Enlil spiral. Is just around about there. 6th, so it's around about sort of like the 13th, 14th. So it should be coming in the next couple of days, not the 16th, sorry, the 13th, 14th. But one thing I should sort of say is this repeated emptiness. If you can see here, as it going through and it hits towards the sun, there's that dark blue, that sort of vacuum of the solar vibration that's coming in the direction of the Earth. There is that sort of vacuum that sort of happens. Now, that's going to create a sort of backwash effect on all the effects of the impacts of the solar activity, those solar flares that are coming our way. It's going to create, so let's imagine there was an impact on your heart. And for those of you who have been over at the Astro Flower, you will know about a tower moment. So it could be impacting a shock within your system, and let's just say it's within your heart. Once that shock's come through within you as a person, afterwards, once it's happened, the days afterwards, we feel a little bit numb, a little bit sort of lost in a way sometimes. And this is a similar sort of thing that can happen with the Earth's vibration. So it could really speed up over the next few days. So we're talking around about to the 15th, around that period there. And that's when you will get this emptiness that sort of comes through. And it gives a very neutral vibration. And I would have thought it would increase the Earth's vibration out further. But these predictions are not necessarily the same wherever we go. So if we look at the Iswa was having a lot of eruptions going out the back of the sun. And for those people who, for those of you who have been over to the Astro Flower, where I do tarot readings on there, and I've been talking about Venus, Mercury and Mars all going into Aquarius at the moment, and it's on the other side of the sun, on the opposite side to the Earth. And this could well be those messages that come through from that vibration that affects the Earth and that ultimately affects us, our individual aura and chakras. And it will depend upon what we're living. Now, I will be doing, putting some tarot cards according to this change of vibration that's coming through this mid-February, and you'll be able to see that for each individual sign, but also for the collective reading as well. It'll be linked about my head, the channel, and you can find your way over there, and you'll be able to sort of see what we're talking about in what sort of effects this solar vibration that's coming towards the earth, what sort of messages that it's bringing as well within its vibration. Because this is what the ancients would call prana energy, the prana wind. This is the vibrations that we talk in the Sanskrits, and there's usually 5 prana winds, and they correspond to solar flares, corona holes, filament eruptions, light, and sort of X-ray sort of particles, as it were. So we get these different sort of solar sort of winds that come through, and this brings like a message from the universe if you're that way inclined. I've been looking and observing auras now for a long time, and I can see when there's a change in the environment within the person, and I can also see that there's a slight change in environment within the energies around nature, as it were, with around trees and so forth. And this has got to do with this vibration that comes through. So if we go back to the X-ray flux here, you can see that there's some sort of rhythmical pattern going on here. And this rhythmical pattern of the sun can also be traced in the rhythmical pattern of the earth. So let's just have a quick look at the earthquakes and see how that's been affecting the chakras of the earth according to my map, as it were. So here we go. We have the beginning part of the week, and we see a lot of within the solar plexus there between Australia and Japan. And then it starts switching. It starts moving over towards the heart chakra, which opens up America as well. And this is where we start getting the build-up of the earthquakes on around Mount Shasta, and this is the sacrum that starts kicking in. Once that sacrum is released, then you can start seeing there's less within America, and there's a lot more back between Australia and Japan. And this flows through. As it flows through, starts building back up in America, as you can well see here, and then slows down in the Australia, moves over towards New Zealand, and this is where it's building back up the sacrum as well. So there's this rhythmical fashion that goes on between the root, the sacrum, and then through to the solar plexus, which overflows towards the heart. And in the same time as with the solar plexus, you have the third eye and the throat chakra. So you get this rhythmical fashion within the vibration that corresponds a little bit to the rhythmical fashion of the sun, of the solar flares. And we can see these effects that have been happening, as I was saying earlier on, on the other energy update, about the fact that we were moving from the sacrum and we were going into the solar plexus and the third eye and the throat chakra, and that's getting things done. It's sorting out a fundamental desires, and this is a rhythmical fashion. So we sort something out and we allow that to happen in front of us, and this is how we manifest things. We allow it to happen and to see what happens around us within the way in which we sort of introduce or impose our sort of fundamental desires upon our life around us within the environment that is around us. And these rhythms need to be taken into account. So when we're dealing with chakras and auras and the eruptions of the chakras and the influence of the aura on the vibration in total, this plays a significant role in the influence upon our emotions and our physical well-being, and I go into that on that healing channel that I was talking about earlier on. So let's just see how those sort of things connect and how we can look at the vibrations that are around us within the sun and the earth, and how we can equate it to the workings of our own aura and our own chakras. So let's just have a quick look here and see what a sunspot eruption really looks like. This is an animation from sort of NASA. And with this, you can see that there's 2 dark spots on the surface or the atmosphere of the sun, as far as I see. These 2 dots here are the plus and the minus, the negative and the positive, or the masculine and feminine, I tend to sort of refer to it. And eventually these two opposites mingle and mix with one another, to create a knot within the magnetic field of the sun, and that erupts in the direction of whichever planet is going in. And this also is like the same thing that we see on a chakra. You have petals within your chakras, and each petal will sometimes be charged in a different way, which will create this eruption. And this eruption then sends off like a plume of energy into the aura that is our body. And then that creates a certain color within the aura, creates a certain vibration, and within that vibration then the emotions can then take place, and that is when that space happens within the aura. You could also sort of say it looks like the magnetopause of the earth, as we can see here. This is another thing from an eruption from the sun. If you imagine like the center part of this animation there is your aura, and as you're being affected by the emotions or by the situations of the world around you, this then can create sort of pressure upon your aura. This can create pressure upon your chakras, and then your chakras will also sort of push against it, give a push back against the incoming vibrations and vibrations and energies that are coming from around you. It doesn't affect you directly, the outside world, because your energy is completely comes from the earth, and you can't actually exchange anything. It's just an effect of one vibration upon another, and how we harmonize ourselves with the vibration around us can then help us to sort of manifest things. It can help us to do healing. It can help us to be productive in our workspace and things like that. And knowing this is really important. This is the sort of thing that we go into here over on Cymatic TV. We also go into it on the Astroflow, and we're going into it on our healing channel as well. But this is a way of being. Once you can understand the sort of vibrations that are happening around you, maybe you're not so responsible for everything. You know, you cannot be responsible for the entire world. That's just not the way it goes. You can only be responsible for yourself. And when the old teachers, as it were, or the old religious texts, and they say God made us in God's image, it wasn't an image of a human being. It's the image of energy and how it works. And how it works on every single level is exactly the same. We have the negative and positive. So like for your crown chakra and your root chakra, your crown chakra is the negative to your positive root chakra, or your root chakra is the negative to your positive crown chakra. It depends on how you look at it, really. But these sort of opposing sort of forces are continual. As much as we have our control over our energy and how we interact with the world around us, and this is this opposing forces on the outside of us. So when we're looking at these energy updates, you should really be thinking about, when we're talking about solar eruptions, earthquakes, hurricanes, or various other things that's going, volcanoes, or various other things that's going upon the earth, you must understand that this is also having effect on your vibration from the exterior, but also from the interior. And that's why we look at the earth, and to see those vibrations coming through. So for each one of us in this coming week, this is a week of filtration, of purification of our fundamental desires. It's the sort of thing that can help us direct us in the future, help us manifest what we so desire as a life going forward, individually, but then collectively. So, yeah, I will see you soon. I will be doing dowsing some lines and getting some messages from the earth and chakra sequences from the church. I will be doing that tomorrow morning. So you'll get this video the following day. You'll get that video the following day. And we should be able to feel the vibrations that have been coming through from the sun. Thank you very much for your support for this channel and everything you do here. So really do appreciate all your subscription, thumbs up, and even your comments as well. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section. I do answer everything. So yes, thank you very much for being here. Don't forget, life should be fun, so please do enjoy.